The night was quiet. The sky above the forest was filled with stars shining like cold diamonds. The trees stood tall and dark, whispering with the soft wind. Everything looked peaceful, until the silence broke. A bright light tore across the night sky. It was not a shooting star. It moved too fast, too heavy. The ground shook as something crashed deep inside the forest. Birds scattered into the air. Animals ran away in fear. The earth groaned as smoke rose from the crash site. Inside the burning wreck, a figure moved. Slowly, she stepped out. She was not human. Her skin had a faint silver glow. Her large eyes reflected the fire around her. Her hair was thin like shining threads, almost alive. She was an alien, young, frightened, and alone. She looked around, breathing fast. Her ship was destroyed. She could not call her people. She was trapped on Earth. The alien girl had been warned about this planet. Her leaders had told her stories. Humans are weak. They are violent. They are dangerous, but they are not important. They cannot stand against us. She believed those words. To her, humans were fragile creatures who lived for a short time and then died. They had no great strength, no advanced knowledge. They were nothing to fear. At least, that was what she thought before this night. She began to walk through the trees, trying to hide. Her body glowed faintly, so she wrapped herself in a dark cloth from her ship. She moved silently, but her heart was loud in her chest. She did not want to meet humans, not yet. Not until she understood this strange place. But soon, she saw them. In the distance, through the smoke and the trees, a small group of humans appeared. There were 3 of them, 2 men and 1 woman. They wore simple clothes and carried tools, not weapons. They had seen the crash from the nearby village and came to investigate. The alien girl froze. She studied them carefully. They looked weak. Their bodies were thin compared to her kind. Their steps were clumsy, yet something about them was strange. They did not run away from the fire. Instead, they ran toward it. She tilted her head. Why? Why would they move toward danger? Her people would never do this. If a ship crashed, her kind would leave the weak behind. Survival first, always. That was the way of her race. But these humans, they were different. The humans reached the crash site. The fire was still burning. One of the men coughed from the smoke, but he did not stop. The woman shouted something in their language and pointed. Together they searched the wreck as if they were trying to find someone alive. The alien girl's eyes widened. They think someone is inside. They want to help. She felt confusion rising inside her. These creatures, who were supposed to be selfish and violent, were risking their lives for a stranger they had never met. She stepped back, hiding behind the trees, but she kept watching. Her heart beat faster. For the first time, she was not sure her leaders had told her the truth. As she stood in the shadows, she remembered her mission. She was not here by mistake. She was sent to study humans, to watch them closely, and then return with knowledge. Her people wanted to know if humans could ever be a threat. She had thought the mission would be easy. Observe, record, report, that was all. But now, after only a few minutes on this planet, she had already seen something that made her question everything. The humans worked together, pulling at the wreckage, coughing from the smoke, and shouting words to each other. Their teamwork was strange to her. Among her people, power was everything. The strong survived. The weak were forgotten. But here, the weak helped the strong, and the strong helped the weak. They acted like one body with many hands. The alien girl whispered to herself in her own language. Why? Why are they doing this? She felt something she had never felt before. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was something new. Something she could not name. She wanted to understand them. One of the humans suddenly stopped and looked around. The alien girl stepped back quickly, pressing herself against the tree. Her breath caught in her throat. Did they see her? Did they know she was there? The man stared into the darkness for a moment, then shook his head and returned to help his friends. The alien girl closed her eyes and exhaled slowly. Her hands trembled. For the first time, she felt a strange weakness inside herself. Not because humans were stronger than her, but because she realized something dangerous. These creatures were not what she was told. They were more, much more. And deep inside, she feared what else she might discover about them. That night, hidden in the forest, shadows, the alien girl made a silent promise to herself. She would follow the humans. She would learn the truth with her own eyes. And when she finally understood what made humans so different, it would change her life forever. The alien girl stayed hidden in the forest. Smoke from her crashed ship still hung in the air. But her eyes were no longer on the fire. They were on the humans. She had expected them to leave once they found nothing in the wreck. Instead, they stayed. They searched every broken piece, called out into the smoke, and even burned their hands trying to move sharp metal. Their bodies were fragile, yet their will was not. The alien girl felt a strange pull inside her. She should have escaped, gone deeper into the forest before more humans arrived. But something told her to wait. Something told her she must see more. The three humans finally stepped back from the wreck. Their faces were covered in sweat and ash. They looked tired, but none of them showed regret. They did not complain. The woman placed her hand on one of the men's shoulders and gave a small smile. Even in failure, they found comfort in each other. The alien girl frowned. Comfort? Unity? These words had no meaning in her world. Among her people there was no comfort, only control, no unity, only strength. She whispered to herself. Strange. Very strange. As the humans began to leave, the alien girl followed. She kept to the shadows, moving with silent steps, her glowing skin hidden beneath the dark cloth. The humans walked back toward their village. Their homes were simple, small houses made of wood and stone. Warm lights shone from windows, glowing softly against the night. Dogs barked in the distance. The smell of firewood floated in the air. The alien girl paused at the edge of the village. Her heart beat faster. She had never been this close to humans before. Part of her was afraid. Another part was curious. She crept closer. She watched the humans greet others in their village. Children ran to them, asking questions. Old men and women gathered near, worried about the crash. The three humans spoke quickly, using their strange language. The alien girl could not understand the words, but she understood the feelings. Their faces told the story. Fear, concern, hope. Humans were not hiding their emotions. They wore them like open books. Her people hid everything. To show emotion was weakness. But here, humans shared feelings freely, as if it made them stronger. The alien girl tilted her head. How can weakness make them strong? She moved closer still, slipping behind a broken wall near the village square. From there, she saw something that shook her more than the crash. The humans began to work together. Some carried buckets of water to put out small fires left by falling debris. Others checked on neighbors. A few prepared food for everyone. The whole village moved like one living thing, each person with a role, each action connected. The alien girl's mouth parted slightly. They are one. Her people were powerful in body, powerful in mind, but divided. They trusted no one. Each lived for themselves, but these humans, they were many, yet they acted as if they were one. A quiet voice inside her whispered, "This is why they survive." Her body shivered. She was beginning to understand something her leaders had never said. Humans did not survive because they were strong as individuals. They survived because they stood together. Still, she wanted proof. Something real. Something that showed this was not just chance. And then, it happened. A loud scream cut through the night. Everyone turned. A small boy had run too close to the burning wreck and fallen. Flames surrounded him. The villagers gasped. Fear spread through the crowd. But before anyone could move, one of the men from the crash site ran forward. He did not stop to think. He did not stop to protect himself. He threw his body into the fire, grabbed the boy, and carried him out. His arms were burned. His face twisted in pain, but when he placed the boy safely on the ground, he smiled weakly. The alien girl's heart jumped. Her eyes widened in shock. He risked his life for a child that is not even his own. This was not survival. This was something more powerful, something she had no name for. The villagers rushed to the man, pouring water on his burns, thanking him with tears in their eyes. The boy's mother hugged him tightly, refusing to let go. The alien girl's chest felt heavy as she watched. Her people would have left the boy. They would have said, "One life lost is better than two." But this human chose to suffer so another could live. She whispered again in disbelief, Why would he do this?" Her voice trembled. Her hands shook. She had seen battles. She had seen pain. But she had never seen this. The humans carried the injured man into one of their homes. Others comforted the boy. The village slowly returned to order, but the alien girl could not move. She stood frozen in the shadows, her mind racing. Every thought she had about humans was breaking apart. They were not weak. They were not foolish. They were something else, something terrifying in its own way. Because if creatures like this could turn pain into courage, if they could turn weakness into strength, then maybe her leaders were wrong. Maybe humans were not prey. Maybe humans were the most dangerous beings she had ever met. That night, the alien girl made her choice. She would no longer only watch from afar. She needed to understand humans completely. She would step closer. She would risk discovery. She would see with her own eyes what made them different. And soon, she would find out. The alien girl had followed the humans for 2 nights now. She stayed in the shadows, quiet as the wind, always careful not to be seen. Each moment she watched them, her mind filled with more questions. They laughed together, they argued sometimes, but no matter what, they stayed close. They shared food, shared warmth, and even shared their pain. It was so unlike her people. Among her kind, trust was weakness. Unity was an illusion. Yet humans lived with it every day, and it seemed to give them strength. Still, part of her doubted. She told herself, perhaps I am only seeing rare moments. Perhaps this is not their true nature. But then came the night of the storm, and the test she never expected. The storm breaks, dark clouds rolled across the sky, heavy with rain. Lightning flashed like fire in the heavens, shaking the earth with its roar. The alien girl hid beneath a thick tree, her glowing eyes watching, as the storm fell upon the human village. The rain poured down hard, filling the rivers, flooding the ground. The wooden homes shook under the wind. Roofs leaked, walls creaked. But the humans did not hide alone inside their shelters. They ran into the storm. She watched as men and women tied ropes to hold the houses together. Children were carried to safety. Old ones were moved quickly to higher ground. Their bodies trembled under the cold rain, yet they kept working. Her breath caught. They fight the storm, as if the storm is alive. The child in the river. Then it happened. The small river that ran beside the village grew wild with the rain. Its calm surface turned into rushing waves. Logs and stones smashed against the banks, and in the chaos, one child slipped. The boy fell into the water, his scream swallowed by the storm. The alien girl's eyes widened. She could see the terror on his face as the river dragged him away. For a second, the entire village froze. The river was death. No, one should enter it. To jump in was madness. But before fear could hold them back, a young woman leaped. The leap of madness. The alien girl's heart pounded as she saw the woman dive into the raging river. The current pulled at her, smashing her against rocks, but she did not stop. Her eyes were locked on the boy, her arms reaching through the waves. The alien girl whispered in shock, She She goes to her death. But she was wrong. The woman fought like fire. Again and again the river struck her down, yet she rose back. Finally, with a desperate cry, she grabbed the boy. She wrapped her arms around him and kicked hard against the current. The villagers rushed along the riverbank, shouting, throwing ropes, stretching out their hands. And together, with all their strength, they pulled the woman and the boy from the water. Both lay on the ground, coughing, shaking, half drowned. Yet when the boy opened his eyes and the villagers cheered, the woman smiled through her pain. Alien girl pressed her hand against her chest. Her heart raced. Her kind would never risk themselves for another's child. To die for blood was rare. To die for a stranger was unthinkable. But this human woman, she had done it without hesitation. The question in her mind, the alien girl's thoughts spun. Why? Why would she do this? The answer came slowly, not as logic but as something deeper. Humans were not bound only by survival. They were bound by something stronger, something invisible. She remembered the man who had burned his arms to save a boy from fire, and now this woman who had nearly drowned to save another child. Her leaders had told her humans were selfish, but what she saw was the opposite. They risked themselves for others, even those not of their own blood. It made no sense to her, and yet it made humans terrifying. For what enemy could fight people who did not fear death when protecting each other? The discovery. Later that night, when the storm passed and the village repaired itself, the alien girl stayed hidden, still trembling. She looked down at her own hands. They were strong, more powerful than human hands. Her body was faster, her mind trained for war. But for the first time she felt small. She felt weak, because all her strength meant nothing against the strange power humans carried within. A power she could not name yet, but could feel burning like fire in her chest. She whispered to herself, "What are you, humans? What are you really?" The silent test the storm had tested the humans, and they had passed. But the truth was it had tested her too. She had seen courage with her own eyes, courage her people did not have. She had seen unity, self-sacrifice, and strength born from love. She could no longer deny it. The stories from her leaders were lies. Humans were not weak. They were not simple. They were something else entirely. Something her world was not ready to face. The promise. That night, as the village slept, the alien girl stood in the shadows of the forest and made another silent vow. She would not leave. She would not run. She would follow these humans closer than before. She would step into their world no matter the risk, because she needed to understand this mystery. She needed to discover what gave them such power. And deep inside, she knew one truth. The moment her people learned what she had seen, everything would change forever. The storm had passed, but the alien girl could not forget what she had seen. The humans had faced death in the river, yet they did not run. They had risked everything to save a child. That image burned inside her mind. Still, she wanted more. She wanted to know if this strange courage was only for danger, or if it was something deeper, something that lived inside them always. So she stayed. She followed. She watched. The village awakens the next morning. The village was alive again. The roofs were repaired, the fires were lit, and the smell of food floated in the air. Children laughed as they played in the mud left by the rain. Women cleaned clothes near the water. Men worked to fix the broken fences. The alien girl stayed, hidden behind a broken wall, her eyes sharp, her ears listening to every sound. She thought humans would still be weak from the storm, tired and afraid. But instead, they moved with energy. Her people, after such a night, would argue, fight, and blame each other. But here she saw the opposite. Humans rebuilt together. Their voices were filled not with anger but with laughter. She tilted her head, confused again. How can they laugh after pain? Music in the dark that night. Another discovery shook her heart. When the work was done and the fires were burning bright, the humans gathered in the center of the village. She crept closer, hiding in the shadows of a tree. A man carried a wooden object in his hands, He sat down and began to play. Strange sounds filled the air, soft, gentle, rising and falling like the voice of the wind. The alien girl's eyes widened. It was not speech. It was not warning. It was something else entirely. Music. The humans sang together, their voices joining as one. The sound rose into the night sky, louder than the crickets, sweeter than the wind. The children clapped. The women swayed. Even the old ones smiled as the firelight danced on their faces. The alien girl's throat tightened. She had never heard such a thing. Her people had sound, of course, commands, orders, instructions, but nothing like this. Nothing that served no survival, no need, no purpose but beauty. She whispered, almost afraid of her own words. Why, do they sing? The painting of fire later. She saw something else. A group of children gathered near the ashes of the fire, drawing shapes in the dirt with sticks. They laughed and showed each other crude pictures. Animals, stars, even the burning ship that had crashed in their forest. Their hands were small, their lines imperfect, yet their eyes glowed with joy. Humans made images, marks, symbols. They created things that had no use but meaning. The alien girl placed her hand on her chest. Her heart felt heavy again. She remembered her own people. They built ships, weapons, machines, but never for joy. Only for power. These humans, however, painted with ashes, sang with voices, played with sticks, and somehow, this made them stronger. The fire of emotion. The alien girl's discovery did not end there. In the following days, she saw even more. She saw the injured man, his arms burned from the crash site, being cared for by others. They gave him food first, water first, comfort first. Though he was weak, the village treated him as if he was precious. She saw lovers holding hands in the dark, whispering words she could not understand. Yet their eyes told her everything. There was a bond between them that was invisible but unbreakable. She saw mothers kissing their children's foreheads, fathers teaching their sons how to cut wood, old ones telling stories that made everyone laugh or cry. Each moment showed her something her people did not have. Emotion. Her kind had buried it, long ago, calling it a disease of the weak. But humans wore it proudly, like armor. It made them vulnerable, but it also made them unstoppable. Fear turns to respect. The alien girl began to feel something she had not felt since the crash. Fear. But this was not fear of humans hurting her. This was fear of what they could become. Her leaders had spoken with such confidence. Humans are nothing. They are weak animals. But she now knew the truth. Humans had weapons stronger than metal, or fire. They had the power of love, of music, of unity, of sacrifice. She realized something terrifying. If her people ever came to conquer Earth, they would not face fragile prey. They would face a storm far stronger than any weapon. The hidden tear that night as the humans slept and the village grew quiet, the alien girl sat alone in the shadows. For the first time in her life, a tear slipped from her eye. She did not even understand why. Her kind did not cry, tears were useless. But here on this strange world, surrounded by creatures who lived with hearts wide open, she felt something break inside her. She whispered into the darkness, her voice trembling. Maybe. We are the weak ones. The discovery complete. The alien girl had learned what no one in her world had ever told her. Humans were not dangerous because of their weapons. They were dangerous because of their spirit. They created beauty from nothing. They shared pain, as if it made them lighter. They risked their lives for others. Her discovery was complete, but her mission was only beginning. Because now she had to choose. Would she return to her people with the truth? Or would she stay and learn what else these humans were capable of? The alien girl had spent many nights in the human village. She thought she was safe in the shadows, unseen and unknown. But she was wrong. High above Earth, hidden among the stars, her people had been watching. They had traced the signal of her broken ship. They knew where she was. And they were coming. The silent sky, it began with silence. The humans did not notice at first, but she felt it immediately. The air grew heavier, the stars seemed brighter, and her heart raced. She knew this feeling. Her kind were near. She climbed a hill outside the village and looked up. There, cutting through the night sky, 3 ships appeared, sleek, silver, and glowing with deadly light. Her breath caught. They have found me. She whispered to herself, "No, not now. Not here." The ships descended slowly, their engines humming like thunder. The humans in the village ran out of their homes, pointing at the sky in fear and wonder. Children hid behind their parents. Dogs barked wildly. The air shook with power. The alien girl's hands trembled. She knew why they had come. Not to rescue her, not to help her. They had come to destroy what she had seen. The voice of authority. The ships landed on the open fields near the forest. Their doors slid open and tall figures stepped out. They were her people, strong, sharp, glowing like blades in the dark. At the front stood a commander. His eyes were cold, his face like stone. His voice carried across the field. "Child," he called. "You were sent to observe, not to linger. Why are you here among them?" The alien girl stepped out from the shadows, her body shaking. The humans watched in silence, whispering to each other, unsure what they were seeing. She did not dare look at them. Her eyes stayed on her commander. I was studying them," she said softly. The commander's gaze hardened. "And what have you learned?" Her lips parted, but no words came. How could she tell him the truth? How could she explain that humans were not weak, that they were more powerful than anyone believed, not in body, but in spirit? If she spoke, the humans would be seen as a threat. Her people would destroy them. If she lied, she would betray the truth she had discovered. Her heart pounded. She was trapped. The commander's order. The commander raised his hand, and the soldiers behind him prepared their weapons. Long, glowing rifles pointed at the humans in the village. "They are dangerous," he said coldly. "This planet must be cleansed before they spread." The villagers gasped as beams of light charged within the alien weapons. Mothers pulled their children close. Men picked up tools as if they were swords, though they knew they could not fight such power. The alien girl's eyes widened in horror. "No, stop," she cried. The commander turned to her. "You care for them. Why? They are nothing." Her voice shook. "They are not nothing. They are more than you can understand." The clash within. The soldiers froze, confused by her words. No one in their race had ever spoken like this. No one had ever defended prey. The commander stepped closer, his shadow falling over her. "You have forgotten who you are. You are one of us. Do not let their weakness poison you." Weakness. The word echoed in her mind. But was it weakness to risk one's life for a child? Was it weakness to sing, to laugh, to cry? No. She knew, now. That was not weakness. That was strength greater than any weapon. Her fists clenched. Her heart burned. For the first time, she felt truly divided. Half of her belonged to the stars, half to the earth below, and she had to choose. The human. Stan, the villagers did not run. They stood together side by side with only fire and wood in their hands. They had no chance, yet they did not bow. The alien girl looked at them and felt tears in her eyes. She remembered the river, the fire, the laughter, the songs. She remembered how they had risked everything for one another. And then she looked at her own people, cold, merciless, ready to kill without thought. The choice became clear, the defiance. She stepped between the humans and her people, her voice steady now. "If you harm them," she said, "you will harm me too." The commander's eyes narrowed. "You would betray your own race?" She raised her head, her silver glow bright against the dark. "No, I am not betraying us. I am saving us from our blindness." The soldiers hesitated, unsure. This had never happened before, an alien choosing humans over her own kind. The commander snarled, raising his weapon. "Then you are no longer one of us." The spark of war, the air grew tense. The humans behind her held their breath. The aliens before her aimed their rifles. She stood in the middle, trembling yet firm. Her mind screamed in fear, but her heart whispered the truth. This is the moment. This is where everything changes. For the first time, she was not just an observer. She was part of the story, and her choice lit the spark of a conflict that would soon decide the fate of both worlds. The field was silent. On one side stood the humans, holding nothing but tools, fire, and courage. On the other side stood the alien soldiers armed with weapons that could burn the village to ash in seconds. Between them stood the alien girl. Her body trembled, but her eyes burned with fire. The commander's voice cut through the night like a blade. Step aside. You are one of us. These creatures are nothing. They do not deserve to live. The alien girl's throat tightened. Her hands shook. For a moment, she almost stepped back, but then she looked behind her at the humans. The villagers were afraid, yes, but they did not run. They stood together. Mothers held their children close. Men and women stood side by side. Even the old ones refused to hide. They had no weapons, strong enough to fight, but still they did not bow. Her heart whispered, "This is strength. This is what my people cannot see." The commander's threat. The commander raised his hand and the soldiers lifted their rifles. Blue light hummed at the tips, ready to fire. "You have one chance, child," he said coldly. "Move, or fall with them." The alien girl's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. She had been trained all her life to obey. Her people never questioned orders. To disobey was death. But tonight, she had seen something no training could erase. She had seen humans fight storms, face fire, and dive into rivers for strangers. She had seen love, sacrifice, and unity. How could she turn her back on that? The human stepped forward. Then something happened that made her choice even harder. One of the villagers, the same man who had burned his arms in the fire to save a child, stepped forward. His body was still weak, his arms wrapped in cloth, but his eyes were clear. He picked up a simple wooden stick, nothing more than a branch. He held it like a weapon and stood beside her. "If you want to take us," he said in his rough human voice, "you will have to go through us first." The alien girl's heart pounded. He knew he could not win, yet he stood anyway. And slowly, others followed. The young woman who had leapt into the river, the mothers and fathers, even children picked up stones. The whole village stood in a line, shoulder to shoulder. The alien girl felt her chest ache. They are not fighting for themselves. They are fighting for each other. The breaking point, the commander growled in disgust. Foolish creatures. They think courage will save them. Turned to his soldiers. End this. The soldiers tightened their grip on their rifles. The air shimmered with deadly energy. The alien girl's breath caught. Her mind screamed, "If I do nothing, they will die. If I fight, I will be hunted forever." Her hands clenched into fists. Her body glowed faintly through the cloth, her power rising. She looked at the humans one last time. Their eyes were on her, filled not with fear but with trust, and in that moment she knew her choice. The stand she stepped forward, spreading her arms wide in front of the humans. Her voice rang out, louder than the storm, sharper than the commander's. "Orders. No, you will not touch them." The commander's eyes burned with rage. "You dare defy us?" She lifted her head high. "I have seen their hearts. I have seen their strength. They are more than you know. More than we will ever be if we destroy them." The soldiers shifted uncomfortably. They had never heard such words. Doubt flickered in their eyes. But the commander shouted, "Traitor! Then you will fall with them." The fire of choice. The rifles flared with blue light. Time seemed to slow. The alien girl's body glowed brighter, her silver skin shining like a star. For the first time, she unleashed her power, not against humans, but for them. A wave of light burst from her, striking the ground between the humans and the soldiers. The earth shook. The weapons flickered. Some soldiers fell back in shock. The commander snarled and raised his weapon, but she met his eyes with a fierce gaze. "You call humans weak," she said, her voice steady. but I call them unstoppable. And if you wish to harm them, you will. Face me first." The moment of silence. The field fell quiet again. Smoke rose from the ground. The humans behind her held their breath. The commander hesitated. He had not expected resistance. Not from her. Not from anyone of his kind. For the first time, uncertainty touched his face. The soldiers lowered their weapons slightly. The commander barked at them to aim again, but doubt had already spread like cracks in stone. The alien girl stood tall, her glow fierce, her heart burning with something new. She had made her choice. She was no longer only one of her kind. She was something else now, something between two worlds. The whisper of unity. Behind her, the humans slowly stepped forward. The burned man placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "You're one of us now," he said softly. Her throat tightened. She did not understand all their words, but she understood the meaning, and for the first time, she felt she truly belonged. The choice made. The commander stepped back, his face dark with fury. "You will regret this. You cannot protect them forever." He turned sharply, signaling his soldiers. Slowly, reluctantly, they retreated to their ships. The engines roared, and the night sky lit up as they disappeared into the stars. The humans cheered in relief, but the alien girl did not smile. She knew this was not the end. Her choice had saved the village for now, but it had also made her a target. Her people would return, stronger, angrier. But as she looked at the humans standing beside her, she felt no regret. She had made her choice, and she would stand by it, no matter what came next. The night was quiet again. The alien ships were gone, vanishing into the dark sky like ghosts. The villagers stood in silence, staring at the alien girl who had just saved them. Her silver glow flickered faintly under the torn cloth. Her body shook from the power she had unleashed, but her eyes were steady. She had made her choice. She had stood with the humans. The humans whispered among themselves. Fear still lingered in their voices, but so did something else. Respect. The human touched the burned man, the one who had once run into fire for a child, stepped forward. His arms were still wrapped in cloth, his face scarred from smoke, but his eyes shone warmly. He placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "You saved us," he said. The alien girl could not understand his words fully, but she understood the meaning in his voice, in his eyes, in his touch. Her throat tightened. No one in her own world had ever touched her like this, not with trust, not with gratitude. Her people gave orders, commands, punishment, but humans, they gave connection. A strange warmth filled her chest, stronger than any power she had known. The village awakens. Slowly, the villagers moved closer. Children peeked out from behind their mothers, eyes wide with wonder. Women stepped forward with food and water. Men lowered their tools and nodded at her with quiet respect. The alien girl looked around, almost trembling. They were not running from her. They were not pointing weapons. They were welcoming her. For the first time, she felt what it meant to belong, the whisper of doubt, but deep inside a shadow remained. She knew this peace would not last. Her people had left, but not in defeat. They had left with rage burning in their hearts. They would return, with more ships, more weapons, more fury. Her choice had made her an enemy to her own kind. And she knew her people never forgave betrayal. The alien girl looked up at the night sky, her glowing eyes reflecting the stars. She whispered to herself, "This is not the end. It has only begun." The human bond later that night, the villagers gathered around a fire. The alien girl sat quietly at the edge, unsure if she truly belonged there. Then the young woman who had once leapt into the raging river sat beside her. She smiled and handed her a piece of bread. "Eat," the woman said softly. The alien girl stared at the bread, then at the woman. Simple food, simple kindness. Yet it felt heavier than any weapon. Slowly, she took it, her silver fingers brushing against human skin. The villagers smiled. A silent agreement passed through them. She was one of them now. Her chest ached. She had never known what family meant. But now, sitting among them, she understood the realization. The alien girl's thoughts returned to her leader's words. Humans are weak. Humans are nothing. She closed her eyes and saw again the fire, the river, the storm. She remembered the man who burned his arms, the woman who nearly drowned, the villagers who stood with only sticks against alien weapons. Weak? No, humans were strong in ways her people could never be. Her eyes filled with tears. She whispered aloud, her voice trembling with awe. Now I know what humans can truly do. Her face softened, a mix of shock, fear, and respect. If her people saw her now, they would call it weakness. But she knew the truth. This was strength greater than any power in the stars. The warning of tomorrow. The villagers began to sing again, soft voices rising under the moonlight. The alien girl listened, her chest heavy with both hope and fear. She knew she could not hide forever. Her people would come again, and when they did, they would not stop at one village. They would bring war to all of Earth. But now she was no longer afraid because she had seen the truth. Humans were not prey. They were not helpless. They were dangerous in ways no empire could ever understand, and she would stand with them. Whatever the cost, the ending and the beginning. The fire crackled. The stars shone. The villagers sang. And in that moment, the alien girl realized her journey was only beginning. She had found something stronger than her own people's weapons, something stronger than fear, something worth fighting for. Humans. Her eyes lifted to the stars, where her enemies waited, her hands clenched into fists, glowing faintly with power. When they returned, she would be ready. And this time, she would not stand alone, because now she had something her people could never take away. She had hope.